There are countless celebrities, artists, and entertainers who believe that because they are talented, rich, and award-winning, they earn an exception to morality and they can get away with virtually anything. Unfortunately for each one of those individuals, they're wrong.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my podcast, The Stars Are Falling. I am so excited to be beginning this project. I'm so excited about all the different topics I have planned to talk about this season. And I also have a really fun list of guests who will be on this season that I'm also very excited about. I have been wanting to start a podcast for a very long time, so I am very excited to see what the year 2024 will cultivate when it comes to our podcast over here. So today's episode is kind of going to be an embodiment of my ADHD brain. I kind of just wanted to do an introduction episode before we start diving into topics and figures and celebrities and entertainers and all that jazz. I kind of just wanted to have an introduction episode and give you guys an idea of what is to come. So I created this podcast because I wanted to have a space where we can talk a little more openly and a little more candidly than we're able to on TikTok. As you guys know, we discuss some very heavy topics, and sometimes it makes it a little difficult to really dive into certain topics when words are censored and subjects are censored over on that app. I am someone who believes fully in conscious consumerism in every aspect of life, literally. I think we should be conscious of the celebrities and the influencers that we support, the media in general that we consume, religious propaganda that can cloud our view of reality, etc., etc. So I want to preface this entire podcast with one thing. Over here, we are able to analyze and critique tough subjects and controversial figures without stooping to the level of shaming their looks, their body, etc., etc. We can analyze controversial behavior and controversial people without stooping to the level of being hateful or bullying them. Also, over here in this podcast, I'm going to be giving you guys updates to cases that I've covered on TikTok. For example, we are going to be following the Dr. Kinney trial that is scheduled for February 2024, and we're going to be covering that very closely over here as well as on TikTok, of course. And we are also going to be covering the Jeanette Braun situation and the copyright crew because that seems to be a never-ending black hole. We'll also be following the piling lawsuits that have been levied against P. Diddy and other current events and topics that are in pop culture media. We will not only be diving into controversial influencers, we will also be diving into controversial celebrities as well, such as Jared Leto, Chris Pratt, Usher, the Kardashians, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. There's some famous athletes we need to talk about. There's some mom and family vloggers that I think we need to talk about. I am not quite sure what my upload schedule over here is going to be quite yet. My goal is weekly uploads, and hopefully that will soon after become twice weekly uploads, but it might take me a second to get into a solid rhythm. As many of you know, I am a mama of 2 little boys and they are my first priority. Content creation is my hobby. It is one of the many things I am passionate about, but at the end of the day, my little men come first, and I really only have time to work on content when they go to bed. So it can be really difficult for me to balance cranking out content while ensuring that the content that I'm giving you guys is actually quality content. So with that being said, just to get us started out on a fabulous season of deep dives and pop culture, I want to give you guys a few names on a very long list that I have of different men in the industry who have openly dated minors and literally gotten away with it. Really no repercussions at all. And at some point, I'm going to be doing a deep dive episode where I literally go over every single name on that list, and it is extensive, and there are not only men, but there are also women on that list. Some of the people that I'm going to mention on this list, like I said, this is just a very small portion of the people on this list, but I will be diving into some of these figures later on in this season, and we will be doing deep dives on their lives and their stardom and the controversy that has been surrounding them, etc., etc. Let's go back all the way. This is the first name I have on my list, and that is Mr. Charlie Chaplin. So Charlie Chaplin met a little girl named Lita Gray when she was 8 years old. And at the time, Charlie Chaplin was in his late 20s. When Lita turned 15, Charlie Chaplin asked her to audition for his film, The Gold Rush, which she was later cast in. That same year, Charlie Chaplin and Lita began dating. Lita was literally a high schooler, and Charlie was in his 30s. Shortly after, Lita got pregnant with Charlie Chaplin's baby, which forced Charlie Chaplin to marry his 15-year-old bride to avoid any kind of legal repercussions for getting a child pregnant. Let's talk about the infamous Woody Allen. We will be talking about him much more in this season later on. We're going to be doing a full deep dive, an hour-long episode just talking about this man, his career, his upbringing, and why he is actually a monster. We are all aware of the long list of sexual abuse allegations that have been levied against Woody Allen over the years. He has a long history of sexual abuse and would later go on to marry his ex-wife's adopted daughter, which is shocking and horrific to think about. But that weird dynamic was not all that Woody did. When Woody Allen was in his late 40s, he dated a 16-year-old girl named Christina Engelhardt. And Christina was not the only high schooler that Woody Allen would date when he was in his 40s. He also dated a 17-year-old girl named Stacy Nelkin when he was 41. Sick. He was a complete pervert. He's just a complete pervert. We have to mention R. Kelly on this list. And R. Kelly could be named many times over on this list, unfortunately. I do specifically want to talk about R. Kelly's relationship in 1994 with Aaliyah. This man, R. Kelly, literally married Aaliyah when she was 15 years old. And how old was R. Kelly at the time? 27. This marriage was ultimately annulled because Aaliyah was obviously underage. But before R. Kelly and Aaliyah were married, witnesses close to the two of them said that R. Kelly began sexually abusing Aaliyah around the age of 13 or 14. Many have speculated that this marriage was due to the fact that Aaliyah had gotten pregnant by R. Kelly and needed an abortion and could not do that without the consent of a parent or guardian, as she was 15 years old, and if she would have told her parents that she was pregnant by R. Kelly. This next person wasn't a famous actor or a famous director, but he's a well-known photographer in the industry, and that is James Lowe. James Lowe was 23 years old when he began dating 16-year-old singer Lorde. The couple were together for quite some time, but eventually they broke up when Lorde turned 19 and he turned 26. This next one goes without saying. Kylie and Tyga, the infamous former couple who probably never should have been together at all. I was a very young teenager when she first met Tyga. She began dating when she was 16 or 17, but they didn't publicly come out and say that they were in a relationship until after Kylie conveniently turned 18. But from when Kylie was about 17 on, people were very aware that Tyga and Kylie were together. Tyga even tattooed Kylie's name on his body. Next, we have good old Steven Tyler, a beloved figure in the industry whose closet is filled with dancing skeletons. In the 70s, when Aerosmith was peaking in its success, 27-year-old Steven Tyler began dating 16-year-old Julia Holcomb. Not only did Steven Tyler date Julia Holcomb, he persuaded Julia's mother to sign over legal guardianship of Julia to him. Steven was afraid that he would get arrested for taking a minor across state lines to tour with Aerosmith. He has admitted in his memoir that he made Julia's parents fall in love with him and they happily signed the paperwork. I have done a deep dive on this specific relationship on my TikTok. It's still up. But if you guys want us to do another one over here, we absolutely can do that. Steven Tyler fed Julia Holcomb all kinds of substances constantly. She was always under the influence of some sort of substance or spirit, and this kept her in a very fuzzy headspace. And when you think about it, a 16-year-old brain is very much still developing. So consuming a copious amount of spirits and substances while your brain is developing and you are away from your home and away from your family, away from your friends with this creepy older guy, I can't imagine how much damage that could do to someone. In Steven Tyler's memoir, he talks about Julia saying that she was 16, she was good in bed, and she had no hair on her private area. Julia Holcomb later became pregnant with Steven Tyler's baby, and Steven Tyler did not want this baby, but Julia Holcomb wanted to keep her baby. But Steven Tyler would not allow this. He had his eyes on another woman, and when Julia Holcomb was 23 weeks pregnant, Steven Tyler forced her to have a abortion that she did not want to have. After this deeply traumatizing experience for Julia, Steven Tyler abandoned her completely and went on and had a baby with another woman. What a guy. Steven Tyler has also recently been sued again by another woman, claiming she was sexually assaulted by him when she was 16. So we will also be following that lawsuit on this podcast. Next, we obviously have to add in here the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. Elvis met his future wife, Priscilla, when she was 14 years old in Germany. Elvis was about 24 years old at the time. From the beginning of their relationship, they both admit that they shared a bed every single night that they were together, but they stand by the fact that they didn't do anything sexual until they were married. Because I've always thought this is so strange about their relationship dynamic. So Priscilla stayed in contact with Elvis after he left Germany, where they initially met, and they stayed in touch. And when she turned 17, she convinced her family to let her move to the United States to live with family, but she really just moved in with Elvis. Can you imagine being at that time, approaching your 30s and flying a high school student from overseas to come live with you? Next, we have one of my least favorite human beings on the planet. Absolutely filthy. That person is the Red Hot Chili Peppers' Anthony Kiedis. Anthony Kiedis admitted that he met a 14-year-old Catholic schoolgirl at one of his concerts, and he took her back to his tour bus and he slept with her. After Anthony and this 14-year-old child had relations, let's not mince words. After Anthony Kiedis sexually assaulted this 14-year-old child in his tour bus, she turned to him after they were done, and she admitted that she was not only 14 years old, but her father was the chief of police in the area. After divulging this information to Anthony Kiedis, instead of getting the hell away from that little girl, he slept with her again. And he admits this. He admits it in his memoir. And at the time that this all happened, he was in his mid-20s. So that is just gross. Anthony Kiedis also dated another underage girl named Sky Ione, and she was about 16 years old when they started dating, and he was in his late 20s. And may we never, ever forget Bill Wyman of the Rolling Stones. Bill Wyman met 13-year-old Mandy Smith in 1984 when he was 47 years old. Mandy has later shared that Bill and her began engaging in intimate acts when she was just 14 years old. Bill later went on to marry Mandy as soon as she turned 18. Textbook definition of a groomer. Now we have to mention Wilmer Valderrama, because what in the world happened to that 70s show cast? Why have they all gone off the deep end other than Topher Grace? But specifically Wilmer Valderrama. So this man has not only openly dated one minor, he has openly dated 3. Wilmer Valderrama began dating Demi Lovato when she was 17 and he was 29, and she has later gone on to write a song how this relationship negatively impacted her. Wilmer also dated Mandy Moore when she was 16 and he was 22, and he also dated Lindsay Lohan when she was 17 and he was 24. So that's where we're going to wrap it up today. Just a little bit of a teaser of some of the things we're going to get into. I just really wanted to have some sort of a introduction episode before we started diving into the season. So again, I'm not 100% sure what my upload schedule is going to be, but I can guarantee you next week there will be a podcast episode up. I'll just continue to work on getting in the rhythm of having this new platform to upload on and share with you guys. I'm really, really excited about some of the things that I have planned for this season, and I'm really excited that you guys are here with me and you guys have supported me so much, and I just really can't thank you guys and express my appreciation to you guys enough. I love creating content, and it really is mind-blowing to me that people take the time to listen to what I have to say, and I am blessed and I am grateful and I am thankful, and I'm excited to see what 2024 brings for this podcast and for all of you guys listening. I'll see you guys over here next week. I'll see you guys on TikTok every day.
That's true, Weezy. Boom, not away.